Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I'm your host, Louise Solis, and with me is my very, very, very talented friend who is an incredibly giving person. She's the Mixtress DC, Gina.
Aw, thanks, Louise. Can you call my children and tell them that? Because they tell me I don't do anything. Little rats.
Well, you know, they say the nuts don't fall far from the tree.
Well, I tell everybody all the good jobs they do. I loved that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, of
I'll
course.
accept it.
Good, and you should. So here's a little bit for you. America has about 1.3 million charitable nonprofits, speaking of giving, right? And these organizations play a vital role, obviously, in creating a better world for all of us by addressing social, economic, and environmental issues, as well as by providing essential services and promoting active engagement. They feed, heal, shelter, educate, inspire, enlighten, and nurture people of every age, gender, race, and socioeconomic status, from coast to coast, from border to border, and beyond. They foster civic engagement and leadership, drive economic growth, and strengthen the fabric of our communities every single day. So it's worth stating. So there's no question that a strong nonprofit sector is a key to creating thriving communities for all of us.
Absolutely.
So the question is, why don't we engage more, right? Because the truth is, these organizations need active participation and continuous engagement to function. So the question is, how can nonprofits get more people to get and stay involved? Well, today's designated drinker has been facing these challenges for about 15 years as an active board member and now serving as the current president of Equality NoVa, formerly Arlington Gay and Lesbian Alliance. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Welcome.
we feel honored that you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Great.
We need more things about the community as a large.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into that. Tell us, I want to get to find out all about you, all about Muffy. But first, I want our listeners to really understand what is Equality NoVa?
Equality NoVa was founded in 1981 as the Arlington Gay and Lesbian Alliance. We're the oldest continuously operating LGBT organization in the Commonwealth of Virginia. At that time, it was primarily simply a safe social space organization for primarily gay men. There were some lesbians involved. Bisexual and transgender weren't even on terms that were really in the colloquial discussion at the point in time. And at that point, really, when we were formed, when you talk to some of the initial members, they would park several streets away from where they were meeting at the house so that no one knew what was the gay destination house so that no one got arrested. And then over a course of time, when we got into the early 90s, there began to be a much more safe, inclusive place was developing in Arlington. Everyone now thinks that Arlington is this super inclusive thing that everyone has nothing to worry about. But back then, it was still an early developing place, and there was no human rights ordinance that includes sexual orientation. And so the board members reached out to Ellen Bosman, who was at that time the chairman of the Arlington board, chairman of the Arlington County Board. And she suggested, you know, what I think you really need to do is that next step is we go beyond social events. Get involved in community organizations, community service activities, get involved in nonpartisan political awareness, and make sure that everyone is then seeing you out there and about so that everyone knows that they're your mothers, your brothers, your sisters, your fathers, your uncles. And then with that, you'll be able to then draw in more relations. And that has really been a key. And so that was then in the mid-90s. We then adopted a tripartite mission of social activities, community service activities, and nonpartisan political awareness, and soon thereafter moved to getting a 501c3 designation, and have had that ever since.
That's when you can take money from people
Yeah.
and then use it for actual funds, and then nobody can tell you that you did something wrong. Good job. That's a hard thing to get.
Yeah.
No, it really is. It's really
It's a laborious process to go through in getting that designation. The paperwork behind running a 501c3, a lot of people don't realize what's in that until they're actually in those governing roles. I served as treasurer of AGLA for 10 years.
Taxes.
The filing those tax forms every year, making sure that we've got all of the documents filed with the State Corporations Commission, so that making sure that you're truly a corporation in good standing, and keeping those books audited, getting involved in national listings like Network for Good and other similar listings, so that then there's literally nowadays, there wasn't 20 years ago, but nowadays corporations are looking for a reason to be able to document that they've checked the box.
Oh, yeah.
And so they go out and they want to make sure that while they're checking the box, that they're giving the money to someone who is an organization that's in good standing, files all their taxes, has them audited. And so they'll go out and just pull out from the IRS, and then they create these designations of levels. And we've been able to be that. So when you go on Facebook, for instance, you can create Facebook fundraisers. Anytime you type the word fundraiser, it prompts you, are you wanting to create a fundraiser? What it does is it's going into a database that's from Network for Good that pulls up all of the in good standing nonprofits, so you can then generate a fundraiser for them.
That's great.
Did you even
It's
know
a lot
that
of
it was
work.
that complicated?
No, I knew it was just from being on boards and understanding now. I've never done it myself. I just know it's a very complicated space.
The government makes it complicated for you to take care of other people.
As a government bureaucrat, making things complicated gives me a salary.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. No. I think first of all, I applaud you for keeping your your association like in good standing. It's a really hard thing to do, and sometimes I do stuff with really great people that don't really do the work that's in the due diligence of their 501c3, and then you can't give them a check. And when you get like somebody from like say like a big company to sponsor, and then you have like all this money and you did all the work to get it, and then you can't take it, that's like really it's a blow to your gut. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So good for you for that, because that's really hard. But also more applaudable is creating a space that is safe, and especially before in a time where it wasn't safe, and now is definitely more acceptable. But there's still, I feel like no one's talking about like all the things that are still going on in DC, and like how bad it still is on 17th Street. My friend was just like, our very good friend was just attacked on 17th Street walking home by a bunch of kids, a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
Has lived in DuPont for 21 years.
We just had a member of our board of directors be the victim of a carjacking in Alexandria.
Wow.
At 5 p.m. at night at a gas station. It's crazy. The level of engagement that is still needed, I think it's one of the things that we suffer in this area. Organizations like AGLA, now known as Equality NoVa, suffer from the fact that there's this belief that, we've made all this progress and we've got all these things. We've made a lot of progress, most of those things that we've made progress haven't been enshrined in statute in federal law, so they can be taken away with a strike of a pen. And we still have a long way to go. Even when you look at, our organization was founded to cover Arlington. Once we got our feet under us, we then began to help getting organizations like the Alexandria Gay and Lesbian Community Association. We founded it, helped found that. Then what became known as Equality Fairfax, and what became known as Equality Loudoun, and Equality Culpeper. All of those organizations have now went away. Equality Loudoun is trying to come back. Even the Alexandria Gay and Lesbian Community Association could not keep a board to be able to continue in a city like Alexandria.
Yeah.
And so we began to evolve our organization about 7 years ago to take on more than just Arlington. Then you get to the point of recognizing, once we were hit with the pandemic, and everyone hit with the pandemic, everyone kind of froze and adjusted their model for a little while. And now that we've came out of that, as a matter of, okay, where does the entire Northern Virginia stand? Recognizing that now it's not just Alexandria and Arlington, it's also Fairfax still doesn't have a, I like to refer to our organizations as broad-based community associations that are community-based and community-led. And that doesn't exist across broad spectrum for any LGBTQ organization. There's lots of little individual pieces, might be just social activities or just bowling or just dancing, what have you. I jokingly have said that if there's an activity that 2 or more gays or lesbians do, they've got their own association for it. And that really becomes a challenge because everyone's involved in their specific individual activity of interest, as opposed to being involved and interested in the community at large. And I think at the baseline, you have to remember and function from the understanding that you can't spell the word community without the word unity in it.
Yeah.
It's not spelled communified. Yeah. Merriam-Webster can teach us a really simple lesson. Stop fighting with each other, get unified, and stand by one another. The diversity that we have is actually our strength, not our weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a truth in life in general. I mean, that's something that's
absolutely
you could be applied across all things.
And it was those kind of baselines about geography and about also the expansion of the LGBT alphabet, LGBTQIA, SSWQOP, that kind of led us to, okay, we need to take that next step as an organization, get rid of just Arlington in its name. We had moved to Arlington-Alexandria for a while to cover and to send a message that we were covering Alexandria.
So
and then that enabled us to come back also to say that we needed to also look Fairfax is in need. So let's adjust the whole thing. Also the logo that we've been using for years, while I doubt if you pick 100 people off the street, I bet 99 of them would never know. Our logo used to be a purple triangle that had a little circle in purple that had this little block style thing that looked like a typical government building, unless you know Arlington County. That government building that was built out of basically Legos was Lee House.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And in a current time and day, having an organization's logo that included something that stood for Lee House.
Yeah.
Get with it, folks.
Yeah.
And the folks being myself and my fellow board members. And so we initially started the year with a desire to let's at least get rid of that Lee House insignia, and so we went just a triangle. And then thought, let's start a conversation with the community, see where we need to go. And it was like, within 4 weeks, it's like, no, we just need to get off our butts and actually do it. We can then listen for a year. And so what we're doing now is, as Equality NoVa, it's under a DBA, or a fictitious name that's registered with the Commonwealth of Virginia, so that we're totally legal, totally above board. But we can then, for the next year, function as Equality NoVa. We're going by right now AGLA, now known as Equality NoVa, and the plan is in about 5 months we'll drop off that and we'll then just go as Equality NoVa with a tagline under it, formerly AGLA. So we can kind of move that whole branding
Your
exercise.
transition to the world of Prince.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to have a symbol with a curlicue and an arrow on it, but Lord knows there certainly are plenty of curlicues and arrows around there for us to be pointing at.
I mean, a world of print sounds okay to me.
Purple rain.
And purple has always been Agla's color, so that, that would kind of
See,
play
it
into it
fits.
as well.
See, I'm in
It does
branding,
fit.
just so you know. I'm not just a pretty face over here.
Okay. Well, we'll take some pro bono assistance.
You got yourself another job.
There you go.
But you know what? It's a job that pays back, because that's like fulfilling your soul.
It is.
It is. There is something to be said about it. I say do more.
No, and we all should give more. You're right. Pro bono, if you can do it, in kind, if you can do it, personal time, all of the things. I totally agree. So how would one get involved?
To get involved in Equality NoVa, go to equalitynova.org. If you can, we own a number of domain names that all redirect, so you can go to.
And it doesn't matter. We'll have that on our website. We'll make sure it's all in the episode notes. Absolutely. So, and you can redirect all day long, so no one will get lost.
And so go there. We've got everything from history of the organization. There's a join tab if you want to if you're one of the joiners. There's fewer and fewer joiners, which has made it harder and harder to sustain community organizations over the years. Make a donation. Look at some of the events that we have. There's an events tab that shows some of our major events that we have throughout the year, on a regular basis, month to month. And just show up.
Yeah.
Show up and show out, is what I would like to say. It used to be for years and years that the organization had a tagline of "We're out in Arlington," and then once we took over Alexandria, we're out in Northern Virginia. And it's really, we've also said that Virginia's always like to say Virginia's for lovers. Well, of course, Virginia's for lovers. Unless you love someone of the same sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've had our own set of various taglines to put that in the face, because Lord knows Richmond's not exactly been supportive of anyone
Imagine
in
that.
Northern Virginia. If you're not a cis white male that's going to give them tax money, then they really don't care about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
It's a hard thing to tackle. Sorry, that's a hard thing to tackle. The state of Virginia, and moving further south, it is so conservative with sexuality and so closeted still to this day that you're taking on outside of Northern Virginia, you're taking on a place where no one talks about anything. And your state just flipped. I believe your state flipped to Republican, right?
Yeah, Youngkin.
Is that am I right?
Yeah,
It did.
yeah, Governor Youngkin. That was
Yeah.
right,
So sorry, and I can't even believe
thankfully,
that
the state
happened.
senate is still in Democratic control, so we have, and even we're lucky. Even there is still, it does still exist, a moderate Republican and a moderate Democrat in the Virginia General Assembly, which is thankfully, as we see what's happening across the states, like Tennessee with Governor Lee just enacting a bill to outlaw drag performances and saying that those become adult performances. God help us.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So we've got to make sure that we're confronting those things actively. And I think it's organizations like Equality NoVa that provide that base to be able to then bring people together, to then be able to activate and mobilize against these kinds of just bigoted, outright misogynistic and homophobic intentions. And I think as a general rule, the other reason why these community organizations are so critical is most people really don't have the misogyny and racism and bigotry that is coming out. Most of them are actually being stoked up by that small group who then want to go in and say, hey, we're going to stoke up this rest of the 95 by this language of fear. And then the broader group has a fear of the unknown. So we have to be out there expressing ourselves honestly in a polite, calm way, not coming back and being combative and saying, hey, look at all the great stuff we do. We're just like you. We just happen to have someone that we love of the same sex.
Exactly.
What?
It's just a lot.
It's a lot. You see, you're brought up with eyes wide open, right? In cities.
Oh, yeah,
In
absolutely.
big cities, right? You didn't grow up in a small place where this is completely acceptable.
Yep.
And to be closeted and to not participate. So it's hard to hear. It's hard for you to hear, but it's also insane that this is what we're still dealing with in 2023, right? That this is something on the table when such bigger global issues are happening.
Absolutely.
And sexuality should just be sexuality, whatever it is, and how you identify yourself or who you love or whatever should just be fine. And if you guys all want to evolve to smooth parts, sounds like a fucking plan to me. But we as humans need to take better care of each other.
Yep.
And that's the gospel truth. You just need to take care of each other.
Yes.
Regardless of what you are, who you are, and just be proud of that. And it's alarming, and I applaud you because I know what those cities look like. I've been to those cities and helped my friends advocate and do things.
And so many times it's a twisting of the word. I mean, it's almost not so much time. It's almost always a twisting of the word. I was born and raised inside a Southern Baptist church. I can quote the Bible back and forth to almost anyone that wants to get me into a Bible fight back and forth for them. There's nothing in the Bible that says that unless you want to go back to the clobber passages, which then you have to be selective. Oh, well, we're going to use the clobber passages about thou shalt not lie with another man, but we're going to ignore the next one that says, shellfish are also a sin. So it's okay to have shrimp, and it's okay to touch a football, a pigskin.
Yeah.
But we're going to just say, don't lie down with a man.
Yeah, just pick and choose.
Pick and choose, and then go and stoke a fire.
Yeah.
Sorry. And stoke a fire. I like that.
I think it's let's have a drink. Let's get ready for something.
Let's
drink.
let's lighten up a little bit. Let's do your tip.
Okay.
Let's see where it goes from there.
Man, another can in my life, right? Do you think I would ever just be showing you cans? Well, this is lychee fruit. Now, if you've ever cleaned lychee fruit, you will know that lychee fruit is a royal pain in the butt to clean. Now, this seems much easier, right? You just take the lid and you pull the edge and you probably put it down on the counter because you're not crazy like myself, because you can cut yourself like that, right? Well, for you guys, I'll do anything. So this is lychee fruit in heavy syrup. Now, why is it in heavy syrup? Because that's how they pack it, right? If you've been paying attention to our episodes, we did a couple episodes back. We did Loganberry. This is lychee. Now we know the difference, right? Lychee is a little bit pink. It has a pink hue to it. It's a little bit different. It smells like a little bit like roses. It is a natural scent. They do not put rose water in this, right? And you're like, ew, how am I going to use this in my drink? Well, one, you should snack on them because they're actually delicious. Two, you can use the syrup in your drink and do it with soda water, vodka, and just the lychee syrup, which is kind of wonderful. And then lastly, how I like to use this is I muddle these, right? So I take them, put them in the bottom of my glass. Maybe I put like a teaspoon or a bar spoon or so of the syrup. And I just gently press this in the bottom. And then I pack it with ice after. Because I really don't love salad drinks. That's what I call them, when you have too much stuff in your drink. And then you're like, it's getting sucked in there. Just add your ice. You pack it in the bottom of your glass. And it pairs really well with like really bright citrus. It loves lemon. It loves lime. It also loves accompanying flavors like ginger or turmeric. So when you're using this, it's kind of wonderful. Now, if you're at home like me, I have kids, right? So every now and again, you're gonna have to make a cocktail, a kid's cocktail for them. So lychee, a little bit of syrup with children, and I throw it in there and it smells like flowers. And they'll say, Mom, I feel like I'm drinking a garden. And maybe you are. But it's really quite lovely. So you can just take a little twist of lemon, put it over the top, and just throw it in. Because you know what? Sometimes you just don't need the alcohol. So cheers.
Gina, I love lychee. I can't tell you how much lychee I ate in Hawaii. You just took me back to the island. Thank you.
You're welcome. I also like the idea of just using like the syrup from the lychee too, right? It's like so like floral and all the notes, and like just making like a non-alcoholic drink, incorporating it into, you know, something new for like if you have kids or you're not drinking anymore. Like, just like to change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? You don't have to always have alcohol with every single thing. And like, you know, for me, I always say like incorporate children in it, but you know, honestly, sometimes believe it or not, I do practice a little moderation. You know, like I don't drink every day. I try to like, you know, be sober sometimes. I feel like people think I might be a fall down lush-ish kind of woman. I can be on Saturdays. I don't know. Anyway, that's my point. My point is that explore the things that you're not sure of, and like, yeah.
Well, it's bringing out beautiful flavors, right?
Yeah. And just don't like be opinionated that lychee is only one thing, because it's really not.
It's not. It can be many things.
It can.
Obviously, it's delicious.
Changing. Yes.
But we do want more than just the tip.
Yes. We want the full ball.
All right, so tell us where you get that trick then, Gina.
You can get that at designateddrinker.show. And if you feel like watching this, you can go to Instagram and watch our my little tutorial on lychee.
Watch Gina in action.
You can watch me in action in my floral notes.
And if you didn't catch that website, just don't worry. Just go ahead and scroll down through your episode notes. You'll find that link to our website. Again, you'll get all the archived episodes plus all the recipes, everything about Gina. We'll give you her home phone number, and we will also give you a link to Equality NoVa. If you're in the DC area, the Northern Virginia area, you definitely want to get involved, find out more. And if you're not, find something in your own area. So all of this brings us to the end of part 1 with Daniel Hayes, president of Equality NoVa. But if you're anything like me or Gina, one round is just never enough. So go ahead. Go top off that cocktail and get ready for part 2 of this episode as we continue our boozy banter. And Gina shares her Daniel-inspired cocktail that is equal parts delicious and fabulous. And speaking of fabulous, we're going to find out all about Daniel's alter ego, if you will, Muffy Blake Stevens. So hurry back. The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link. a Latino-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, we craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Roger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, please don't forget to follow, download, and review the shows. Your reviews help our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.